Welcome, friends. Thanks for such a good response, which you have given to me for my first video, and I got subscribers as well. That's amazing. A few, but yeah, it's encouraging to start at this front. Um, I might be old for doing a you being trying to do YouTube videos, but I thought it is a good platform to express your views and to reach to a large number of people who genuinely will want to watch your video, even if there are two people but they are genuine enough to watch a video. So that is the first motive for starting this exercise. Today I will be speaking on range of issues on the topics which I will cover. Today I decided to think about a topic which is the power of language. Language, I hope you all know, and the rhetoric of language you also know, that how it goes on to influence, create. In fact, language is the key to the parliament, if you ask me. Why I say this? Because if you speak in the language of people, people connect with you and they go on to vote for you. In fact, in India, and there's no way I am being subtle or sarcastic about anything, because again, to give a judgment on a specific government or not, that's not my purpose. But the idea is, यहाँ जो बोलता है वो बिकता है. If you speak, you will be able to sell yourself. That's the marketing strategy. That is something which is there. Okay. I hope you might have been to Sarojini Market, and if you are a seller and you are like sitting there and putting a hoarding of 100 में है ले लो, no one is going to buy. You're going to say दो t-shirt ले लो 100 So again, that's the way we use the idea of language. So language it has been used now as something which we will go on to influence large number of people. What I'm doing, I'm also trying to use my language to try to influence you people in liking my videos, trying to increase my subscribers. So it's a market oriented thing now. Language is no longer specific to few people, and language here doesn't mean like one specific language. I'm talking about आप अंग्रेजी बोलते हो या आप हिंदी बोलते हो, तमिल बोलते हो, doesn't matter. But the language is something which we use to connect with people. So the language has a very, very significant role to play. Let me give you an example. Because language is not only about saying specific things, it's also about connecting with the people. This comes as an example from a friend of mine. Not a friend also, he's a senior colleague. He discusses about an episode in his village during the previous lockdown where people were going to celebrate Ram Leela, right? They wanted to celebrate and they were not listening, not paying any attention to the government guidelines and things, blah blah blah, things which were said. And then the Prime Minister comes on the TV platform, like this is 1 year back, I'm not talking about this year, and goes on to say that in order to fight corona, we need to draw a Lakshman Rekha. Now, irrespective of whichever religion you belong, whichever community you belong, all over India, everyone knows what means Lakshman Rekha. And he shared the information that after that use of the word Lakshman Rekha, people who have planned to do something, has planned to have a proper celebration, restrain themselves from doing it because they understood the value. Again, please don't get into the politics of Lakshman Rekha, don't get into politics of patriarchy, and there are a lot of things which are obviously there. No one is denying that. But this is the power of language. The power means if you are able to connect with the people, if you are able to speak in the language which they understand. Now, why am I addressing this video? My problem is with those people, especially those people who think that they have such a good knowledge of language and they use such bombastic words to explain their viewpoints, but they don't take into consideration to whom they are speaking to. There are so many people, I'm not going to name those people, but there are such great intellectuals, theorists, and they have been asked that you write about India, you write about such great language about India, but who is going to understand, sir? They don't speak. I will give you an example. If you would want to watch Nine and Randi, a wonderful movie, no doubt. But the stupidest thing which that movie did was that the peasants are speaking English. It sounds absurd, right? You are making a movie in India in around the time of independence. Your peasants will not be speaking English, and Randi will not be communicating with them with the English. So obviously it was absurd, but yeah, but they were trying to communicate. They're trying to communicate that message, the medium. They wanted to spread that idea of Gandhi to the entire world, so they had no option at that point of time. Maybe right now we have this option of subtitles and so many things, like for example in Family Man 2 you can clearly see the 30% of the narrative is in Tamil. Why? Because they are Tamilians, and obviously the language still in the Tamils, and so the accent and all those things are very much emphasized upon how to recognize someone who belongs to this nation or that nation. So the language, you understand, it has such a great control that by the way you speak, one can recognize, especially that to which community, to which state, to which nation you belong to. So language obviously has a very very good stronghold. So we all, I mean, so that's the power of language. So if we have the power of language, we can turn the tables, okay? And the rhetoric is obviously there located in that. Now, the point which I especially wanted to mention, there's a problem with this idea of rhetoric, because language sometimes gets so complicated that means those who are blessed, or those who have gone to have that idea of language from the very idea of like this, that specific language from their childhood, or maybe whatever the reasons are, and they have a strong hold over it, they fail to do one thing, that they don't try to connect with the people to whom they are speaking to. Even in the classroom we have done that. In fact, if you ask me, I love those teachers who were speaking more fluently in the language which we will understand easily, rather than bombasting us with those adjectives, okay, 3-4 adjectives. And there are teachers like that, they can give you 4 to 5 adjectives. Nothing wrong with that, but the problem is that not every student is going to understand that, and you have to see where you are speaking to. And the point of connection is somewhere, if your connection is there with the idea of language, one has to speak in a language which is like very significant. For example, I didn't share your very interesting story. I will not name the name of the professor, but the best and loved professor, and some of my friends obviously know that they attended the last lesson of that teacher as well. We have the habit of not bringing books, right? So, and I use this in my classrooms obviously, because this is something which I learned from him, and such a great thing to say. There was a class and he said that, okay, so where are your books? And like there were 4 or 5 books which were there. Luckily I had one. So he said, बाकी सब क्या सत्यनारायण जी का कथा सुनने आए हैं? So obviously this is an English class, this is about Shakespeare. He could have not said that, but that specific thing which he said was going to stay in my head forever, and it made the entire class laugh at the same point of time and being embarrassed as well. So that's the power of language I wanted to talk about. There's a very simple video. I'm not going to give you a bombastic idea about language, theory, linguistic. I'm just talking about the idea of how such simpler things goes on to stay in your head. Okay, if the things which are said goes on to connect with you, there's a possibility that Satyanarayana Bhavandi Katha, the few people might not be able to understand. There's a possibility, no doubt. Okay, because it is again culturally specific to some specific location in India. So there's a possibility, but still, it goes on to connect, okay, with me and a lot of other people as well. So clearly, the idea of language is about connecting with the people. Okay, if you're able to connect with the people, if you're able to say what you want to say. For example, right now you might have seen that there are so much protest and all those things going on. Where is the problem? Problem is with the connect. If you're doing something good for the country, which you promise to, then obviously you need to connect with the people, make people understand about it, rather than just saying that it is going to be good for the people. So then that's idea of connect. Okay, that's the way a teacher connect with the student. That's the way the student connect with the teacher. Okay, so means the organization of thought is a very specific thing. choice of words are very, very specific, and one has to be very, very careful what you are saying. That is the way one can communicate. That is the power of communication. Okay, this is the last example which I will give you with respect to understand this beauty of language, and especially through translation. Let me explore that. There's a word called sanskar. Some of you might be aware of sanskar. Now, sanskar has multiple meanings in Hindi. Let me give you two meanings. One, sanskar is a tradition and obviously those things. Another sanskar is the idea of cremation, antim sanskar. So if you translate it in English, very difficult. You can't find one specific word for it. Right, so one has to stick to the origin of a language to understand it. Similarly, the idea of holy water. So if I give a sentence like, for example, उसने कलश में डंडा जल लिया, उस डंडा जल से भगवान के चरण धोए और वो चरणामृत बन गया. ठीक है, उसमें 5 तत्व भी मिलाए गए थे, तो गंगा जल से वो पंचामृत और फिर पंचामृत से वो चरणामृत बन गया. तो सेंटेंस क्या है कि उसने कलश में जल लिया, गंगा जल लिया, उस गंगा जल में 5 तत्व मिलाए जिससे वो पंचामृत बन गया, उस पंचामृत से भगवान के चरण धोए गए, वो चरणामृत बन गया. इफ यू ट्राई टू ट्रांसलेट इट इन अ वेरी रफ वे, फॉर ऑल 3 places, गंगा जल, Panchamrit and Charnamrit, you have the word holy water. So that's the problem of translation. But the point is, when you are trying to explain this to someone who doesn't know the differences between these two, one has to be very, very specific about the choice of words, the language which you choose. So the language has a very thin layer of protection. Okay, so one has to be very, very specific what you are saying, and that's the power of language. A language can change the government, a language can create the government. At the same point in time, a language can create your personality, a language can take you away from depression, a language can put you in depression. Okay, so be careful with your language. Thank you. I hope you liked it. Do comment. Last video I think the comment section was disabled. I hope this time it is not. And do like and share if you like my views, my opinions. I will be talking more about this in my future videos. Thanks a lot.